like so reluctant to do combos and stuff like that because I'm so insecure about what I do, and I'm like, I can't like build this like, what if it's whack? And I give it to Mike and it sucks. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like
you know what I mean? So, like,
you know, well, first of all, like I don't fully consider myself to be a machine builder. Like you guys, like straight up build machines. I'm more of an assembler. You know what I mean? I have made machines, you know, cut side plates, braze, so forth and so on. But
right,
you know, it's something that was instilled in me, like not instilled, but like I remember years ago, you know, a couple of my favorite tattooers were Mike Malone and Scott Sterling. And they made really great machines on existing frames. And that was always kind of like stuck with me in my head. And I kind of like certain existing frames are some of my favorite frames. So yeah, so to say I'm a machine builder, I think is a little bit of an overstatement, but I appreciate the fact that you guys say that. But
yeah,
well, I'd love to sit down and I like what you're saying.
There's
like what you're saying is I always like, yeah, you make a better machine than me. So well, why would you want to do a collaboration with me?
I mean, it's, you know, is it me that's messed up?
yes.
I would just say like,
yeah, you're always messed up.
Sorry, apologize.
You're lagging.
Lagging wagon.
Oh,
South Jersey lag.
South Jersey lag.
I think machine builder. When it comes to machine building, it's all relative, you know, because you could tattoo with a stick, you know, when it comes to building. It's hard to put, I mean, there is a class of machine builders. If you want to do a hierarchy, yes, but I think all the best are dead, really, you know, and the ones that are alive, everybody just does so much cool and different stuff. It's hard to really categorize and organize to say that somebody's better than somebody else. In my opinion, I just think we're all one and the same, and we're just doing our thing. Personally, I don't like to categorize like that. I do weird stuff. You do weird stuff. Greg does weird stuff. Kevin Riley does weird stuff. Everybody's
we're still talking about tattoo machines, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That too.
What's that?
You said we're still talking about tattoo machines, right?
Yeah. Am I? No. So anyhow, you said you're more of an assembler, but you've cut side plates and put stuff together, right?
Oh yeah.
So that's, in my opinion, that's a builder. I mean, you build the stuff. I mean,
right.
Greg, in my opinion, Greg is like a purist. Everything's got to be handmade from scratch. I go back and forth. So
but I wasn't always like that.
It's all different. Yeah, I wasn't either. I went through phases. I was a purist, and I went through production phases. Like I just do it to do it now. So
I think what really matters is.
Go ahead, Mike.
I just think that when it really comes down to it, I always felt like the tuning was my main focus. That's what I really enjoy to do, and that's what it really boils down to a lot of times. Like you can kind of make, like you said before, you can tattoo with a stick. Just a matter how to make it work for you.
So you're the master tuner.
Nah, let's not say that. I can tune them how I like them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Mike has. I think Mike has the last laser cut sides and stuff that I ever made.
Oh yeah, those orange frames.
He's got those. There was like I swear the next ones I made were like all handmade. Like it was like, you know, like those orange ones or whatever. And I remember what I really thought was cool is when I brought them up to you. I think it was at Black Panther. I went and visited that shop, and I thought it was really cool. And you know, like I took all this. I was like really, really nervous to give them to you. So I wanted to have them be perfect, and so I set them up perfect. Liner was perfect. Shader was perfect. I think they were the first like handmade coil cores I ever made, but like the frames were all laser cut. So I wanted them to be like perfect. And I brought them up to you, and you checked them out. You put the clip cord in it, and it was like, and you looked at it for 2 seconds, and then you immediately started taking them apart. And I'm like, oh shit, that's fucking awesome. Like you took them apart, right away after I was like spending like a good like 2-3 weeks like breaking them in, making sure they were perfect. And I was like, fuck yeah, that's how you fucking do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't
because like back in
remember
the day,
doing
that's how.
that at all.
Yeah, you like took the A-bar part like right away and like started fucking with the springs and stuff. And I was like, wow, that's like right. That's like how you do it.
Well,
Like,
weren't we talking about spring tensions and bends when we were doing that?
oh, dude, I don't know, but it was
Look,
like
I don't think I would have just taken them straight apart and just said, okay, I definitely would have tattooed with them.
yeah, I don't know.
But whatever I get, that's how I buy.
I remember you putting them back together, and I'm like, oh shit, he's not like. I was like, oh shit. Like, oh. It was pretty fucking cool though. I mean, because like nobody does that. Like you buy a tattoo machine from somebody, and it's just like, oh, unmolested, blah blah blah. You know, I got to put it on tat gear now because it's unmolested. I just got it resprung, and shit like
I
that.
always molest. That's how like. Yeah. I never went out to, like people always say I'm a machine collector, but I never really planned on being a collector of machines. That's how you learn about them.
Right.
You get a machine from somebody you like and respect, and you see how they do things, and then see what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and then adapt it.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Like learning curves.
Yeah, that's pretty much like what we all did before it was like not cool to take somebody's machine apart. Somebody's machine. It's like your machine. You bought the thing, right? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But where did you? Who was a big inspiration to you to start messing with machines and stuff?
Well, I mean, I was the guy Jack Witt who taught me. Like he started it by when I was apprenticing. He gave me 2 Supreme machines, and basically he just told me to study them because I had to sit there and just study them. And then I found out why one day when I came in, there's 2 piles of parts and I had to put them all back together. And he was always a machine, he was not a builder, but he always really maintained his machines. Like always tuning them, cleaning the points, like just really on top of mechanics. But then I'd say from there, what's that?
That stuff nobody knows how to do today.
Yeah. And then from there, I started hanging around with like going up to Tony the Pirate shop a lot. And then kind of became friendly with him. And then he started making those bolt together machines. You remember see those machines that he did? The ones that he bolted together, 3-piece or 2-piece frames. They're like stamped upright. And then they had like a bolt-on base.
Almost like an Apollo.
Yeah, very much like that. Because the Star machine was his original design. Mm-hmm. And then from that, him and the guy Andy Keeter, who made the Star machines, had like a falling out, and Tony went on and making a different style frame. Now, when he started going more into production, not production because he was always just him, and I used to go up there and hang out with him on Tuesdays on my day off. We started he started letting me hang around the back room and start helping him put machines together. So he was kind of one of the first people to kind of get me into like straight, I guess, with really building machines. Where'd you guys go?
We're here.
Okay, I was just staring at myself in 2 screens.
No, Greg freezes up every now and again. I'm still here. I got you. So yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Tony the Pirate, I would say, was probably the first person.
So I'm.
You guys familiar with the Pirate, Tony the Pirate?
Pardon me?
I know Greg is because he had a shop in Atlantic City way back when.
I never met him, but I've heard of him through the grapevine. There's actually.
Is this did he had a shop? Hello?
Hello?
Oh, I thought you were still talking.
I was.
I
think
Tony.
You're lagging
Tony
out
had
a bit.
shop in Atlantic City on Atlantic Avenue.
Yeah, that was Tony Jr. I mean, his son, and they owned it together, but the son ran it. But Tony was like, he's an old. He learned to tattoo from Sailor Ralph and on the Bowery, and then worked for Brooklyn Blackie, in the 50s and early 60s. Then relocated to my area of New Jersey when Newark became illegal. So he was there up until early 2000s, I'd say. Then he moved to Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, he had a place. I guess like his son, like you said, had a place on It was like in between Ohio and Michigan Avenue on Atlantic Avenue. I would walk by it to go to school.
Okay.
When I went to grade school, and it was fucking scary as shit looking.
I can believe that.
It's like, you know, like the tattoo shops in Atlantic City, there wasn't many of them, but they were so scary looking. And I was like a little kid from the hood, and you know, scared to death of everything anyway. So like, but yeah, I remember like just looking in, it was just dark. It was right across from like Columbus Park, which is now the Walk. I think there's probably like a Gap outlet or something there now.
Wow, okay. That's the area it was then. Okay.
But yeah, so yeah. It was right near the hospital.
Okay.
So it's like, you know, I guess I think it might have been like right in front of Caesars, where the Caesars parking garage was. But I could be wrong. So you learned a lot from the pirate and everything, and he kind of as we had talked about before, he had let you help him assemble machines. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, like it was just one day. I forget what we were, because it was him and his son, and then I guess he was trying to how it kind of worked was he's like, I got to start building these machines. Would you want to come up here and do some tattoos on Tuesdays so I could work on machines? And then, you know, Tuesdays typically a slow day anyway, so there no customers. So I just go in the back and kind of hang out with him, and he'd wrap. You know, he used to use a lathe to wrap his coils, like a big old lathe. It was kind of funny because two people that, you know, were really influential in me working on machines were Ernie Carafa and Tony. And you know, Ernie would use like your typical coil winder. When Tony would use a lathe, he would muscle that thing. Like he'd have it run real slow, a lot of torque, and Ernie would wrap a set of coils in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But a pirate would take a long time. So he'd be working on a lathe. And then, what's that?
There's not a lot of control with a lathe, even at a low setting. You know,
he would like, and you'd see he would like have to wrench it back to get to pull off some wraps and get it back on. It was kind of, you know, for an old man, he was a strong motherfucker.
Yeah. I mean,
but anyway.
I would think that would be like, you know, shooting a mouse with an elephant gun.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It's like
like looking back on it now, it was definitely like he would definitely have to like unwrap, because it would start getting out of control. Like it wouldn't be even. He'd have to unwrap it, and he just like instead of like turning it.
He's probably making bird nests.
Yeah.
Making tumbleweed.
Yeah. I mean, he was pretty good at it. I'm not going to say that, but he was, you know, he would get a little unsatisfied, back it off, you know. But I just remember one day we're doing like that. He got some coils wrapped. I forget how many he had done, and then we started putting them together. And he was like, "Here, just do this." And he was showing me like, because like I said, prior to that, I'd pretty much been working on like side mount machines, like a Supreme, where you could put the coils and everything in, then put the binding posts in later. And then I remember him being, you know, his machines were more like almost like a lightweight would be, where the binding post is going to come out the back.
Right.
So he was like, you know, had me started putting all the rear binding posts on with the insulator washers and the solder lug. And that was the first step we did. And then then he would let me put the coils in. Then he let me, you know, then we would strip the enamel off the wire. Then we'd solder, you know, so little by little, every step would kind of go through it. So, and it's just, I think he was just, you know, once he trusted me enough, he let me do it. And then who knows, maybe he would have let any neighborhood kid do it just so it was free labor.
Yeah.
All right.
Either way, I mean, like you got to learn some things.
Oh
you know?
Yeah.
So that's cool, you know. And how would you say that like transitioned into learning from Ernie?
Well, Ernie, like I worked for Gene Bernardo for a long time. You know Gene, right?
Yep. I don't know him personally, but I mean, I know him through your stories.
Okay. Well, Gene, he had a shop. I worked for him in a couple of different shops, and he had a shop in Point Pleasant. And well, before that, I had owned a shop in Point Pleasant called Sling and Ink. And then after I had it for about a year, Ernie opened up down the street, and we kind of became like not so friendly competitors. You know, like we weren't enemies by any means. We just kind of like, he would spy on us and so forth and so on. And then over the years, we just started, I guess I earned his trust, or he just realized I wasn't a complete moron, whatever it is. But then we started kind of talking about history and Flash and machines. And I think I might have had some Rogers machines by that time that I showed him. And then he started building those the elongated like Wooders #6 frames that he was doing.
Yeah.
And same kind of thing. I would start going down there on Wednesday mornings, and he would wrap the coils, and he'd give me the frames, and I would put them on the belt sander and polish them out, and then we'd build. It was cool because we'd build 6 machines every Wednesday morning, and that's kind of how that started, and that lasted for about a year, 2 years doing that every week.
Was he
So it was
doing
cool.
was he doing a lot of casting back then?
He had actually, what had happened was he had those cast for Paul,
Okay.
or with Paul, like in like '88, and then Paul had a stroke, or first stroke, so they ended up not ever doing anything with them.
Mm-hmm.
Then Ernie had a guideline tattoo with Richie Pepperata, and then their partnership fell apart. And though there were just those raw castings were sitting in guideline or wherever Richie had his stuff stored from early 90s till I think that was it 2000, 2001 when they reconnected. They got them all back, so he started getting them. I think his machinist's name I think was Derek. I think Derek was milling them all for him, and then we would just take take off the excess from there.
Yeah, Ernie's son is Paul.
Yeah,
is casting stuff now.
It's cool. He's doing his stuff all on his own.
It's incredible. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, I like Paul a lot.
Yeah, it's like
it's cool to see him doing that, carrying it on.
Yeah, that's like I feel like that's the last thing for me is to do cast. I know Tony has been doing cast for many years, but of course, like I would want to do it exactly like how Paul's doing it, like just do it all by yourself and try to make something out of nothing. You know what I mean? But at this point, I think like for me personally, like you spend a lot of time honing a certain like road for yourself, or like a pathway, trying to carve something out for yourself, and sometimes you get so far deep down it, and it's too far to go back and try something else. But never say never. Like casting I wouldn't say it's on the horizon, but it would be something cool to do to just try to do it. It's
just wake up one morning and decide that you're going to do it and just go full on.
It works. That's mostly how that's how it always starts.
For myself, I go into hibernation for like months, and then, well, you know how I am, and then all of a sudden I'm just ripping them out. I go back into hibernation.
It's pretty cool.
The same thing when it comes to developing my skills too. It's just like ebb and flow. You'll wake up one day, and next thing I know, you'll have a whole gamut of casts running, knowing you.
Yeah.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Mike.
Sure.
You did some work with Ernie, working on machines. Now, there were some, I can't figure this machine out, and it's a water C-frame that Ernie was doing. I have a bunch of his casts that I personally bought from Ernie before he passed. But I had 2 original ones, one from a guy that I worked with, and I started working with him in 1990, and he got those from Ernie, and they were red spray painted C-frames. Now, those frames, were they all original Ernie casts, or did Paul have a hand in those? Because I seen some labeled Paul Rogers floating around years ago also.
Ernie had those made.
So those
Paul would build on them, but those were guideline frames.
They were guideline frames.
Yeah. I have one that Paul built for Lenny Weber. It was an old guy who tattooed in New Jersey. He used to work for Ernie. Actually, at the time that he got that machine made, he had told me that there was you kind of had like an option through Guideline Supply where you can kind of buy like a kit, and then they would send it to Paul, and Paul would build it.
Oh, that's good. That's pretty
so
cool.
I don't know if that was actually how it worked, or if that was just how his way of describing the system to me, Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot. Paul did. I mean, it's funny because Ernie told me that he had those made to make a liner.
Yeah.
So they were cut back like
they
that.
Cut way back. Yeah, they had the scoop.
But he said they just didn't make good liners. They made great shaders.
Yeah, I use mine.
And I agree.
Shader. Yeah. Skyver took that off of me. He's like, "This is really cool. Can I borrow it?" And that was that. It was gone. It was like 15 years ago. But I got another one off of Mike, but my question was, well, to continue my question, if it's not signed by Paul, then it's just a guideline frame. Paul signed.
No, that's not true. Because the one I have is not. There's no indication that it's made by Paul as far as etchings or stampings.
Yeah.
But if you look at other Paul Rogers machines, you can just totally tell. I'm trying to remember how it worked. Ernie told me he used to use. I'm trying to remember how this went. I think Ernie would use clear spaghetti, over his insulating wire and then black, and Paul would use black.
Black. Okay.
And I think Ernie would use black tape on his coils, while Paul would use the prism or a color tape. But like the one I have, like how on those uprights you had to run the rubber bands inside.
Yeah.
Like the one I had, Paul tried to file grooves on the upright so the rubber bands would, like there's this ways you like
CN.
But it still didn't. It was way too far forward. And I think Paul would treat his springs a little bit differently too. Like he would kind of file the edges down. I don't know if he was trying to get a little tension out of them or to get them to be a little less, a little softer.
Yeah.
But what Ernie's they'd be a little more just rough around the edges,
Right.
Yeah, if you know what you're looking for, you can see the difference.
I'd heard very recently that the reason that you sand the edges of your springs like nice and smooth. I don't know if I'm not a scientist, but this is what a good friend of mine told me. He said it increases the flow of electricity.
Yeah, I've heard. That's what I've been told too.
Yeah.
So you want to get all the burrs and all that out.
Yeah. And I never heard that before, and I honestly never even thought of it. And it's like it's proof positive that you like learn new shit all the time.
Yeah.
Jerry, when he cut his springs on Jerry Rieger, he cut them and round all the edges. And he sat there with different machines with me, and he said, "Listen, real close." And then he would take another machine that he took all the shouldered all the springs, and you could hear the difference in the tone, like the metal. And it does mess with the structure, the tensions, different widths, different thicknesses. But he said that's how he tuned the machines to get them to sound so smooth, to knock those edges off. And he never mentioned the electrical aspect of it. That makes sense though. So there's no interruption in flow.
Yeah. It's like, it's just, carrying through smoothly, I guess. I mean, it's weird that it would make that much of a difference, but I guess it does, and because I don't think the stuff out. I mean, there's definitely some rough edges and stuff, but I never purposely made them so that like you would, if you touched it, you could cut your finger open on it. But like, but now I take extra special care to sand it.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason why I started cleaning them up. Is so, I call them glove poppers.
Yeah.
I had those old, I had an old National Eagle with these big ass bulky springs, man. It would just, if you catch it the right way, it would knuckle you, it would just pop that glove right open.
Those weird springs that they put on there, the ones like the came stock, where they kind of put it on almost like backwards.
Yeah, they're all janky and square.
Yeah.
They used to tear me up.
I never got the mentality behind those springs, but
yeah.
I remember, I think they used to say that Bob Shaw came up with those springs.
Yeah.
And then Bobby Shaw told me that he never saw his dad use those springs ever. So
that's probably before they invented round corners, I guess.
There's no round
moron, but I'll take it. Round corners.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, the cool thing with working on like tuning machines with Tony, like his frames were, he had two different uprights, which one he ended up just stopped making. Like one was a straight upright and one it kind of went and then kicked out. And the straight one was the same geometry as Jonesy square back. And then the kicked out one was a round back. And the way he would kind of tune his machines was kind of how like him and Blackie would run their machines. Tony would run a really heavy power supply. But he also ran really heavy, like his needle bars were probably twice the thicknesses of ours. So it kind of smoothed everything out. Where I bought a power supply from him and I plugged my machines into the shop and I was like, I couldn't even, at the lowest voltage, I couldn't even run my machines to tattoo
Really?
with.
Huh.
But with his needle bars, they just ran real perfect. You know, like real, that much weight must have really brought it back down. And the machines that I did with Ernie, like the cool thing with those was like he had bought an original Coleman machine like right around that same time, so he kind of based the armature bar length and the spring length on that shader, and then we combined the 50/50 Sprag capacitor with the tungsten rod contact screw that Sailor Eddie would use, like Sailor Eddie Senior. So it's kind of like a cool like mixture of like the Coleman style meets Sailor Eddie style plus Paul, you know, which of course is Coleman style as well. So it's really kind of cool to be able to work with that kind of those two different styles of machine setting, you know. Now, do you guys do rolled front springs or more like a kink or bend?
I roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I roll.
I have this little system for rolling rear springs, but front springs I always bend.
Okay. Like so you put more like an angle, like
you got a pinch point angle,
like kind of more like that. Sorry, am I drawing on a paper? Or do you go more roll?
I usually go. I roll the rear spring here. You can see. Nah, it's nothing you can see. But I have this way of doing it. It's weird. It's like I use like these clamps. Shit, I wish I had it like close by. But you ever get like you're like you know like a laundry exhaust duct, and those like those clamps that you use, you screw them. They're like a flathead screwdriver. You screw them down and all that stuff. They're like, you know, it's like flat piece of metal. Well, I have like a round piece of pipe, and I take the flat piece of metal and put it, you know, I put the flat the spring inside that, and I clamp it down so it clamps tight around the 1-inch pipe, and then I feel like that is like a perfect bend. Like it's like, so you don't have to. It's always consistent. You don't have to use your thumb or anything, and by just like, you know, it. Because I guess you could get like a roller, like a, you know, a bench roller or something like that, but I don't have room for it. So I like kind of figured out this little way to use one of those little clamps. I forgot what the clamps are called, but they you know, they can go around like, you know, air ducts or like, you know, what are they called?
Aren't they hose clamps?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that would be a hose clamp. Exactly. Anyway, hose clamp.
I know what you're saying though. Yeah.
So you put that in between, you know, you put the flat piece of metal, excuse me, the spring stock in there, and then screw it down, and it makes like a perfect little C. You know,
pretty genius.
Yeah, and then after that, then, you know, because like I leave a little tab on the front, and then, you know, I just bend that tab up, so when you know, do your A-bar assembly, there's a little tab flipped up like a kicktail, you know, on a skateboard. So when you put your front spring on, screw it down, it's already kicked up.
Oh yeah, it gives it the tension underneath.
Yeah, it gives it. Well, yeah, because like, you know, like I always use.
Yeah, it goes like this.
You know, like I use 15 thousandths for my rear. I use 20 for fronts. Almost religiously, because like it, you know, you put a lot of tension on that rear, but at the same time it's so thin that it like works freely, you know. Like if I feel like I don't really like to put anything heavier, because it makes the coils work more, in my opinion. And I like everything to run around, you know, 5 to 6 volts, whether it's a liner or shader or whatever. I don't like anything to go over like 5.8. You know, everything like is real, you know, low voltage. And the other thing too is like it reinforces that front spring, so that like, you know, not only are you getting 20, but it's kind of like it's, you know, it's got all this tension here, but it has a lot of flex at the top, so you get like extra punch. I don't know. It's just it's something I've been doing for a long time. I try to do other stuff, and this works the way it works better for me to do it this way. And the other thing too, I don't know if I can show it to you, but there's like another little thing that's fun is, you know, I got you can see right here, these like little, you can see these like little, you know, how it's like extra long here.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is like I always crimp this down, so it's like you see these little bends
Yeah,
at the
I see 'em.
bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do that so it puts extra tension against the A bar because of that bend and how crazy the bend is. It'll put extra tension against the A bar to hold it flat so that it's hitting true every time. You know, so it's like you get closer and closer to hitting true with a teeny tiny little gap in the rear, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, like, I don't know, like I spent a lot of times fucking machines up. So like like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I got it to a point where like, oh, these are great. I don't have to fuck with them too much before, you know, I send them out when people buy them, you know. And I could be, I don't know. I mean, if anybody has any corrections or any other tips, then please let me know. You know, totally open to hearing them, but like, that's how I do it. I don't know how we got off on like springs, but like, I think you can probably mention any little thing about tattoo machines and I'll just like lose my mind about it. So that's how I do it.
Yeah, he asked you if you rolled or crimped.
Yeah,
I roll, yo.
There it is. There's the answer.
I roll and crimp, sort of.
A rolls and a crimps.
It's you know, like I used to do like I used to like just straight bend them right off the spring shelf, but that always I think, you know, it puts too much tension in it, like and when you put too much bend in that one spot, it makes it susceptible to breaking. So especially if you use like a really light, you know, spring thickness, you know, I think like, you know, for the past maybe 2-3 years I've been using 15, but before that it was 16, and I, you know, just learned that by buying a bunch of spring stock. You know, you buy a bunch of stuff, you try different stuff. You know, it's the same thing with making coils. I've you know, I've bought really thick wire just to see what would happen, really thin wire just to see what would happen, and you know, it comes back to 24 is the best for me. And it's like, you know, so but I had to make those experiments to see what was what, you know. I think it's important for people to do that stuff. I mean, you know, like, I mean, is there anything that you've done experimentation wise to like get, you know, machines to sound or perform a certain way, Mike?
I mean, like me personally, I like the single, like the King front spring. I just like when I try to roll them, maybe it's just I'm not that good at it, but I'd always find that I would get almost like too many mini fulcrums, and I would get too much imperfection.
Yes.
And I always felt too that like with I like my machines to be really deliberate, like one shot, one kill kind of, you know what I mean? Like just
street
like,
shot,
you know, like one pass, you know what I mean?
of course.
And whenever I would do that, it would always be like a little like chatter or something in it. But I personally, like I use, you know, 18 straight on a shader and then 18 and 20 on a liner. But a lot, like my personal machines will run at 12, 13, 14 volts. But if I'm trying to like, because I use a lot of tension on my personal machines. But that's just kind of how, like I said, like the people who taught me to tattoo, that's how they worked. And I used to be really afraid of all that. I used to not. I always credit Steve Delgado was one of the person. You guys know? You know who Steve is? Brooklyn tattooer. Like he came to visit me years ago when before it was like early, I guess around 2005-ish, and he brought a bunch of machines down for me to look at, like some different machines, and then he had a set of machines that Tony Polito had set up for him, and they were national swing gates with, you know, 20 gauge springs, no capacitors, and a lot of tension. And he set them up running at 16 volts, and just like they were terrifying to listen to and feel the armature bar. And he was like, try tattooing with them. And it was just like, that was the easiest tattooing I'd ever done.
Like butter,
you know? So, and the people who I would tattoo I actually used them on were tattoo collectors. And they were like, that didn't hurt, you know? So you figure like something like that, you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm going to beat the hell out of somebody. But it was like smooth tattooing with ease, you know? So it kind of like, for my own stuff, I try to get like a mix between like, you know, I don't want it to be, burning my hand or anything like that, but I'm not afraid of like of voltage,
Right.
But like what Greg was talking about by putting a little lip underneath the front spring, like bending it up a little bit to give it a kick, and a little more stiffness, at that point. I've tried that. It didn't really work for me. But I mean, I've seen like, I think is it Lucky's that sells springs like that?
Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. I know Aaron and Seth were doing that a while
That's
back.
it. Yeah, Aaron's. I tried to set it up. Maybe it's because it was like maybe a little bit softer tension, like a tensile strength of a spring. They seem to work really well. So, but it was just that also with that though, it was a flat front spring. So I guess that little bend gave the spring its kick.
Right.
Yeah, this is I don't know if this is a perfect example, but it's like I had some old springs laying around, and I just wanted to show you if I could show.
Mm-hmm.
It's like kicked up a little, right there, and you can. I don't know if this is going to turn into a how-to thing, but I mean, why not? I mean, it's just so I can illustrate exactly what I'm talking about. So you got the hose clamp, bing, a little piece of pipe. Actually, I cut this off my wife's seat post on her bike, and I was like, "Oh, perfect." So repurposing. So you, without trying to like cut your fingers off, whatever. Not like anybody's any stranger to getting injured while making tattoo machines.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it works really well if you have a drill, handy to do it. Sorry, I'm trying to get this in here real quick. I just remember Mike saying this was genius, but this seems like the giantest pain in the ass right now. But I swear it'll be worth it if I can get it in there. All right.
The consistency is there though. That's what's great.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, you got your spring
That's cool.
like in there, once it's in there, and you just start kind of cranking down. Again, slotted hardware, mega pain in the ass. I have an old house, and the guy that used to live in my house before he died, I swear everything you could use slotted hardware in, he used it in. It's the biggest pain in the ass to get out. But you crank it down, crank it down, crank it down. And like I said, this is like, it's no replacement for like a bench roller. Like that'd be ultimate awesome to have, but they're expensive as hell and they take up a lot of space just for springs. So, but yeah, like, it's on there. I don't know if you leave it on there for long or whatever. I guess you don't really have to. But then you undo it after you bend it and get it out. Hopefully, it's like more consistent,
Nice. Look at that.
And that helps too. And I don't know what you guys do. I'd like to get your opinion on it. But do you guys use a degree, like a 2-degree angle in your spring shelf?
I use a 1.
I just started with a 2. I was always 1 for going flat.
Okay.
Yeah, 1.
I'm stuck at 0.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made machines that had 2-degree angle and stuff, and I just like, for whatever reason, it kind of sketched me out that like it like I couldn't get it to hit as flat, and then I just went back
coil, the deflection off the front coil.
Yeah. So like it's been 0 for many years, but I've been thinking about going back into, maybe doing that technique again. But the 1% sound, or excuse me, 1 degree sounds, like it might work. It's like right in the middle,
Yeah, it might. I've been.
I mean, it might work for me, is what I'm saying. Like,
I've been doing that a long time. It might work.
No, I mean, it might work for me. I didn't mean, yeah.
Yeah, I was always like,
sorry, I forgot you existed before I did, Tone. Sorry about that, bud.
Yeah, I was always taught to, and how I learned to tune machines was off of a flat 90-degree angle spring shelf.
Right.
So when I first started messing with, like, I think I might have bought, maybe some Spalding frames that had it. And all of a sudden I was like, man, there's so much tension on these things that I actually looked at them and I was like, oh, wait, there's a little bit of an angle here.
Yeah.
And then I had like Jimmy down at Lucky's had made me some frames, like kind of like Black Widow style frames quite a few years ago. And I said I wanted them flat. He was like, oh, you should try the degree angle, because I guess they put I think a heavier degree angle on theirs. But we met in the middle at 2. And after building those 50, 60 frames, whatever it was, I had 100 frames, I think, total. It made sense to me after that,
Yeah, I think it's funny that you don't consider yourself a machine builder, but you make 100. You'll make 100 machines at a time.
Yeah, but that took me a couple years to do.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like,
I mean, it's like
you're doing something consistently, and you're getting, like, every machine is like, you're getting better and better and better and better. So it's like, yeah, dude, like, to me, it's like that counts for something,
Well, thanks.
you're like way too humble is what I'm saying.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot. I mean, there's the exact opposite a lot of the time. So,
like when I had the frames that I had Spalding make for me, those I did with a 90-degree angle again.
Okay.
And then the last one, I actually just had some frames made, kind of like a dial style machine. Those have a 2-degree on them.
Oh, okay. Is there any reason why you stuck with the 0 instead of going degreed, and then why you went back with the 2 again?
I think it's I think it's just a matter of mood sometimes.
Okay.
I mean, I'm one of those, like, when I get machines from people, like I was saying before, like kind of like a learning process.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I had those made, I was working on older, some lightweights I had, like some older frames I had gotten from some friends from the 70s, and they were all 90 degrees. And they were that's what kind of inspired me to do them, was the older Spalding frames were much thicker.
Yeah.
And a little bit better of a better metal, in my opinion.
Okay.
And they working, I think I had like maybe 8 or 10 of them. And I'm working, and I was like, I want to, actually went up and visited them. It was 3 or 4 years ago for my birthday. I went up to upstate New York and went there, and I was like talking to one of the guys, the owner, like Huck's grandson, and said I was talking about getting a run of frames made. And he had me put me in touch with their machinist, and then we talked about doing welded steel. Okay. So that's what they ended up doing for me. And at that point, he was just like, you know what, I want to do them flat. But I just feel like if I'm gonna, honestly, I think when it gets into, like, I don't want to say production, because that's not how I want to do things. But when I'm doing a more like a run of machines, I think this time I just want to have them like the ones I had Spalding do. They were coming like 20 at a time.
Yeah.
And they would take, honestly, because it's like they're a busy company. I'm not top priority, so I get 10 frames here, 10 frames there.
Yeah.
But when I just had like 50 frames made for me, and I hope to keep that ball rolling. So it's a little more, when it's a little more, I want to say production, because I'm going to keep making the same machine over and over again. Yeah. They're all going to run, of course, a little bit different. We know how that goes. But I think the 2-degree angle helps me with that.
Yeah. Now, do you put a lot of, now we were talking about spring tension and stuff, but do you put a lot of tension on that spring, even though it's
no, not with that angle? I won't have to put as much on.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it too, is because, like I said, for myself, like if I set up a machine and it runs at 10 volts, and as long as it's not cooking my hand, I'm okay with that.
Right.
And usually when I sell machines, I'll tell people, don't fear your rheostat. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It doesn't have, like, if you get
you can turn a machine up and turn it down, or if you can, and it's a completely different machine. That's cool, right, as long as it sounds consistent and it puts ink in the, like you get a shader, you turn it up, it's a nice whip shader color packer, and you turn it down, it can be a really nice soft black and gray machine. Like, I think there's something to be said about versatility in building your machines and stuff.
Yeah.
And
of course, all my animals want to come over here now, right?
That's okay.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing too. Like, when a machine can kind of doesn't necessarily have to have a sweet spot. It might have a sweet spot for one. One person might like you know, the 7.5 volt, and the other person might like the 10 volt, you know, but like it
Yeah.
can run consistently, you know, as you turn your rheostat up and down. I think I'd like to try to do that when I'm working on things as well.
Yeah.
And
Good range.
that's why we're talking about sound. I'm trying to get myself beyond being hung up on sound, like how a machine sounds.
Yeah.
Like I have a couple of machines that some friends have made for me, like Sailor Eddie Jr. made me a machine, gave it to me for my 30th, and it kind of sounds like shit.
Yeah.
But it's probably one of the best liners I've ever used, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of like, it's not what it, you know, I've probably done that to other people, like had machines that was like, God, that thing sounds terrible, but you look, you know, feels great, you know?
I like it when my shit just sounds like a weed whacker thrown into a wood chipper. I don't fucking care. You know, like I don't care. Like I've been over that sound thing for a while. I mean, if it sounds like a tattoo machine, awesome. Like, you know, like we all know what it sounds like. Like, you know, like that sound is the very essence of a tattoo shop, in my opinion. But like,
I've tried.
You know, it's like they can't sound fluttery, and they can't, like, you know what I mean? Like when they sound, you know, when a tattoo machine sounds fucking bad, you know, like, you know, that's
chattery, choppy.
Yeah, too much. Yeah, choppy, you know. But that, like, it can sound loud and super obnoxious, but like it has to be consistent. You know, like those are like those are the, not the rules, but the guidelines, you know, I think.
I've tried messing with like rotaries and you know, like stuff like that. It's like, well, there's like that uncomfortable silence.
Yeah.
When I'm working, I'm like, I miss that kind of that sound of the machine.
I think they're cool. I mean, I think all that stuff is cool, but like, it's not, I don't know, man. Like I've tried to build, I've like never finished one. I always just start a bunch of parts and then I just like lose interest. I'm like, these are cool, but like they're cool. I don't know. I'm just like, you know, like I don't know. I get too fixated on, like, you know, trying to continue working on coil machines to, you know, mess with rotaries. But one day, I mean, who knows? I might do them. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, it's just like I can tattoo with them. I don't use them on the regular. Yeah. I think they're a good tool. I'm not bagging on them. I just I don't know how to fix them. I don't know how to work on them. You know, I can't. You know, if I get a machine from somebody and, you know, like Greg here, and I don't like it, I can take it right apart in front of them and then change it, but I can't do that with a rotary.
Yeah, like I got to tell you, that was like amazing. It was amazing because like no one, for one, no one has ever done that, and for two, I was like, what does he see that I don't see? You know, like, I want to pay attention to like what's going on. You know, like right away, he was like, you know, you're like, meh. Like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then you just started taking the A-bar apart and stuff. And I'm like, all right, that's how it's done, man. Like, I didn't take any offense to it. I thought it was cool, you know?
But it's like, that's just, I like to be able, and like a lot of times I'll just sit like I was breaking in a liner the other day, and we have a newer shop person, and she was like, what are you doing? Like, I was running a machine for a couple hours, just sitting there holding it and, you know, cleaning the contact points after it started getting a little dirty. Cause I don't think I put a capacitor on that one. That's what I think. I'll run machines with no capacitors a lot of times too. Like I just
really, tell us more about that.
Well, like I was saying, when I got those, I mean, my first set of machines didn't have contact points or contact capacitors. I'm sorry, but like the machines that I got that were lent to me that were set up by Tony, like he had no capacitors, no points. And what he would do is he would just burn through his spring, you know, and they would call it chasing the spring. He would just keep angling it back.
Yeah.
But I started running like that a little bit and realizing that I kind of liked it better. I mean, I would use points because I got sick of changing my springs all the time. But I never really had, to me, I was like, it just felt like it had more follow through. I didn't quite understand why. But then I was talking to Richie Montgomery about it. I was like, I really just like this. For some reason, I like running these more. And if you've probably run machines without capacitors before, right?
Me? No.
Yeah. Never even ran one. Like,
that's
not necessarily tattooed with it, but you ever run a machine like it?
Yeah.
You see that green spark?
Like I've run them. I've never like tattooed with them though.
Well, you think, and Richie pointed out to me that green spark, you know, the circuit breaks. There's no power. You know, like but when you have that spark, the power's still there.
Yeah.
So as that armature bar is coming down, that spark's pushing it all the way. So it's not as soon as that circuit breaks, it wants to push it back up.
Right.
That little bit of extra power is keeping that force down. So it keeps that, it's got a little more follow through and more drive. That's why I mean, in theory, that's why I like no capacitors.
So you don't use a capacitor, but will you put a silver point on the front of your spring?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like I mean, if I want to change springs all the time or burn through them,
Yeah.
they kind of run a little bit more consistent without the point.
Yeah.
But you're gonna run through a spring in a matter of a couple days. You know.
Yeah. Huh.
But like, you know, like when I go back and forth. I like machines with or without them. I'm not gonna say it's like my favorite, but
Sure. I mean, to me, that's old school, man. That is definitely.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, I try to like every time I try to, like, you know, if somebody teaches me something, I try to absorb as much as I can from it. You know,
Right.
like a few years ago, I went upstate and my friend Jim Party, the guy who taught him how to tattoo, learned from Huck's son Jay. And Jay Spalding, they always said that he was like a little mini Huck, and he never changed, he never deviated, like he never, like whether he did as far as like machine setup, and it was always kind of what he considered to be Coleman style. They modernized it over time with like O-rings and stuff like that, but like he showed us how to set up machines that way. So I went through a period of time. I'm gonna like, I want to really practice that setup. And then like with things that Sailor Eddie Jr. has taught me, I try to set up things that way. Right. You know, what Ernie, like try to like absorb as much as I can in those setups, you know. And just like when I got those machines that were set up by Polito, I tried to mimic as much as I could. Like, you know, as soon as I got, you know, I did a few tattoos with them, I hit up National, bought, you know, swing gates with 10 wrap coils, yanked the capacitor off, bought the old style springs, 20 gauge, and just put a shit ton of tension on them. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just like I try to absorb as much as those. And then like what happens is over time is little pieces of those different setups all work into like my own set way of setting up a machine. Right. You know? And then another person too is like somebody like Scott Sterling, who I think is, you know, I consider him a dear friend, and he's also one of the most knowledgeable machine builders I've ever met.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like things that he shows me, you know, like, and he's a person that I respect, because like you look at what Scott's old machines, you know, from the 90s, you know, they're 3/4 inch springs, a lot of bend, you know, good amount of tension, 10 wrap coils. Now you look at his stuff now, it's like he's adapted and learned. He's continually learning. Yeah. And it's not just like what he learned to do in 1982 is how he does it to his dying day, you know, God forbid.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's real easy to just get stuck in what you're doing because it works. And this
right.
Which I mean, if it's working, not for nothing.
Yeah.
Doing what you're doing.
And there's some aspects of Scott's old machines that, you know, there's some things about Scott's old machines I like better. You know what I mean? Like for my own personal taste, but I love his new machines as well. You know,
hey man, Picasso had a blue period. What are you gonna do? Like, you know what I mean? The dude like painted blue paintings for like how many years? Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you go through shit. Like I went through a phase where I did nothing but shorty machines for 2 years. Right. You know, like, and that's
stacks and
like, like I wasn't done with that phase. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm having a lot of fun making shorty machines. I'm gonna only make these. Like there was a time where, you know, I only made side plates that were pieced together, like 2 or 3 pieces, and I would make a jig and, you know, cut these specific little things, and then, you know, weld every little piece together. Because
I remember those when you were making them like that. I was like, why'd you doing it like
that? Yeah, because it was just like because no one else was doing it, and it was fun. I was having fun. I could care less. Like it doesn't.
Yeah,
matter.
I could tell it was like you had like an idea and a project in your mind. You're doing it. You know, that's awesome.
Yeah. I just think like, you know, it was what worked at the time. You know, to like I didn't have the ability to make an arc or a curve with a mill. You know, like and to make things like, you know, try to make things like consistently, like you know, consistency is key, obviously, you know, so I would, you know, try to cut like multiple parts and I would mill them all one at a time, but I would make these fixtures. There was like 3 fixtures to make like one side plate. So I would go through, you know, this whole thing of cutting each piece to certain specifications and then making a jig that put all the pieces together, and it was really fun. and like tattoo
Mhm.
machine building became fun, because I was
Yeah.
doing like the laser cut thing, and that was cool. But like, a lot of people were doing it. I wanted to do something people weren't doing. Like
Right.
nobody. Why the fuck would anybody do it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
like you're looking at it like, yeah, why is he doing it that way? I don't know, because it was.
what you were just talking about triggered a memory. But like when before Ernie and I started working on those like elongated number 6 frames, he had, like I said, he just got that Coleman machine, which you've probably seen. Like it's the one that was like a V frame with all the holes, kind of had like a serrated edge.
Yep.
Yeah.
Him and I were gonna make a bunch of those, not a bunch, maybe like 20 of them. Hand cut sides, weld them together, braze them together. And I remember it took us like 10 to 15 hours to make a frame. Yeah. And we were just like, he has one, or he had one, and I have one.
That's how I do it.
And he's like, yeah, we're not going to do this. This takes, what are we going to sell them for? $1,000? Too much time,
Yeah.
I do
I
it
know,
with
welcome
axe
to
on
my
a drill press.
Mhm.
Welcome to my life.
I
Like,
do.
Yeah.
the best thing ever happened to curved shapes for me is I got a 15-inch Bridgeport rotary table, and I stuck it on my shitty like Central Machinery mill. It's like
Yeah, it
the
works.
best thing ever. You know what I mean? Because now, like, if you can do the math, you can make curves and cuts and stuff, and I don't have to piece side plates together anymore. I can make something that looks like a Supreme, or make something that looks like a Waters. Like you can make these different shapes, and they're it's a lot more streamlined now. But I mean, like, it's all like what going through, like you said, like maybe there's some stuff in Scott's machines that from a long time ago that you would like better than what he's doing now. But this is where he's at, and that's
Yeah.
this is where you're at, like, and there's no rule against like rehashing what you did, or like redoing what you did and making it kind of cooler.
No. Because that's the thing. It's just like, it's like anything else in life. Like there's, like in music, there's certain bands that I'm going to like one era, you're going to like another era, and the band's going to like a completely different era. And it doesn't make any of it less quality. I mean, it could be, but like for the most part, it's just a matter of what gets you, or what works for you.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, impossibles and pressure flips were real sick during the '90s and shit, but like, that shit died out.
Were they?
But then it comes back. Now people are doing like impossibles again, and people are doing like pressure flips again, like but they're doing it down like 10 to 15.
Oh yeah.
Christ, it's all the same shit. It all comes back around.
So,
I guess what I was alluding to is like everybody has their bag of tricks.
Yeah.
Like taking a machine and taking a side and stitching all these parts together, or laser cutting stuff, or getting it fully CNC'd. 0 degree spring deck, 1 degree, 2 degree, however many degrees. Like, you learn how to build them all sorts of different ways, and eventually, you get bored of something, you can dig back into your bag of tricks.
It's an art.
Pressure flip now.
It's like art, man.
When your knee gets fixed up, I want to see a pressure flip, Mike.
Yeah, right. You see a backside carve out of me, and that's the most you're gonna see. Maybe front side.
Fair enough. Maybe front side. I ate shit going front side at Grace Ferry a couple like a month ago, and like I still can't feel my right ass cheek anymore. Like, what am I doing?
I do a perfect front side fall down, go to the hospital. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, not bad. But anyway. So what's up with what's the stuff you're building on now? You have some really
Russell. Hey Lauren, can you bring up that picture?
Yeah, like really fucking beautiful machines.
Well, there's J.G. Russell's from. He worked on the north side of Pittsburgh. And people would come visit him, and I saw the picture in Mike's.
You have one? Do you have one to show, Mike? Oh yeah,
I do not.
They're amazing.
I think I might have a frame somewhere here.
These ones here.
Yeah, those. These are the last ones I did with Spalding. They're based on this machine that I own, which is a Russell, modified. That, in my opinion, was worked on by Coleman and then Paul.
Okay.
you can see like with the, if I can get it in there, the armature bar setup, like how it's way right in the back of that coil like that. Like that was something that, you know, but anyway, that's where I kind of based it off of. I did 20 of those altogether.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then it just honestly, it took about a year to get the frames done. And I know they're really busy, and I'm not saying anything. It's, I need to get a little bit further than just 20 machines a year. you know, not necessarily just for my own personal satisfaction. You know, those were all built. I got them. I was trying to get them ready for the Hudson Valley convention last year, right before COVID. And then COVID hit, and that's what I did for the couple months that, you know, we were locked down. And now they're gone. You know what I mean? So I guess I have one left that I've been procrastinating out a bill for my friend Patrick, and I like to do them again. I really enjoyed working on those. They're a little bit shorter of a geometry as far as spring setup than I normally use. And they're made for a little longer throw of a liner than I typically set up. But I'm kind of like I used to pretty much like only like using like a zippy, like a true Rollomatic with a very short stroke, very like fast liner.
Like a dime gap.
Yeah. And these, I'm getting older. I just don't like that setup anymore, you know. And plus now I'm using larger liners. You know, I used to only use 4s and 5s and 7s, you know, more on the tight side. Now that I'm not making my own needles, I'm using bigger groupings, and that zippy liner doesn't want to work with that stuff. So
those speed bars don't work for that stuff.
So
I can see
that's like it's fun.
Heavy hitting liner, the way the geometry is on it with the big gap from the spring to the A bar.
I'm more of I like a lot more. I used to like a really like tight gap in the back. But for liners and shaders, but now I'm kind of liking them liners to be a little more, use more spring to it, not just the weight, you know.
A
little more versatile.
100%. I line with a coil shader half the time for large.
It's funny because the first Rogers machine I ever got was from, like I was mentioning earlier, Lenny Weber. It was a Waters number 6, and when I went and picked it up, I'm like, this is a shader, right? And he's like, well, I use it as a liner, but you can shade with it. And I used it as a shader because I had a good liner. So I always kind of say that I learned to shade with a liner. So a lot of times when I build a shader, it runs kind of fast.
Tim Hendricks,
or faster.
A lot of people that I've talked to through the years like a zippy shader for black and gray. Whereas I used to build them, as soon as it hits the skin, it dies out.
Right.
I used to. Things are a lot different now, but I thought there was just one specific way to build.
I
didn't realize, you know, everybody tattoos differently, so everybody likes things differently.
I used to run I used to tattoo with Kaplan machines for a while, and they had
burn.
And don't get me wrong, I still tattoo with some Kaplan machines.
Right on.
That's kind of like how a Zeke Owen method of tuning, you know, like with a real wide, you know, really crispy springs. Like he would use a 20,000 3/4 inch wide spring. You know, like actually I have this is one of Zeke's liners, you know, and I don't know if you can see that back spring to get it. You know, on the front. So it's very very deliberate.
East Coast.
That's a Kaplan.
That's the same one I started with, the first machine I ever had.
This is the liner frame, and I would do the same. I would make a shader out of these because they're so bulky. But that when I first would set them up, I would do that. They would hit the skin and just die. You know, like it would bog down. You know, so it would have a really long throw, but then when it would just, you know, shorten up when you hit the skin. I could not tattoo with that setup now.
Hey, Mike, are you an O-ring guy?
I go back and forth. I am kind of an O-ring guy. Yeah.
Okay.
Tension or noise?
Tension.
Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit of both, but more for tension.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So
Okay.
what do you got on the agenda this year? Are you doing any traveling? You doing any shows?
At this point, I don't have no agenda for that. I'm going to go down to my friend Nick has Alley Cat Tattoo in down in Virginia. He's having his 20th anniversary party in September. I'm going to go down to that.
Shout out to No Lies, Just Bullshit.
Yeah, man, no lies, it's bullshit. And then if
Listen all the time.
if it's my anniversary weekend, but there's the Tattoo Archive is doing the historical gathering
Oh, right.
in October. If I can work that out, I'd like to go to that. But like I said, it is my anniversary weekend, so I don't know if I'm going to make it. But I have really no plans to. It's funny because right prior to COVID, I would say to my wife I would want to travel more and go to different places and tattoo. And I actually went to Absolute, worked down there with those guys for a weekend. Actually, it was during the week, but then I came home, and a few weeks later, we were locked down. So that kind of screwed up my 2020 travel plans. But we'll see. You know,
Is that when you recorded with Nick?
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We tried to get that together for a couple of years, and it just didn't work out. We finally got it done.
What is this he's talking about?
Nick Schwartz, he has a podcast called No Lies, Just Bullshit.
Oh,
And,
okay.
It's pretty decent. If not,
Yeah,
like,
I don't know how he keeps up with it. He does
really
one
good.
a week.
Yeah, he's crazy. Like one a month is like holy shit. Like
They're long.
we
Comes
get
up
together
on
and like do like
fast.
one a month. And it's
Yeah.
like, and it's a lot of nervous anxiety. Once you get rolling, it's like it's cool, but like I can't see how people do it like once a week.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
How.
and it's like most of his podcasts are at least an hour or 2 hours long.
Yeah, they're super long. Oh, you know how many machines I built listening to that guy?
Uh-huh.
I think last year, the first time I listened to yours, I was printing T-shirts. I was like,
Okay.
I have like a little, like my house is like over under duplex, and I was up in the upstairs apartment. And I have a little screen printing set up, and I was printing T-shirts, listening to your podcast. I was like, because there's nothing else to do. Like, you're like locked down. There's nothing to do. So I was like, upstairs making shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, podcast blew up during lockdown. Now it's like a norm.
Yeah.
I watch one every day. I stream it. I mess around with the stock market, and there's a kid. He's like 26. He streams from pre-market to close. Like that's all day. That's a full-time job, dude.
Yeah.
5 days a week.
It absolutely is a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I guess that's the way, like life is a full-time job, damn. But like, add a podcast to that every week.
Yeah, have one every month. And you're like,
we're trying to get one together every, consistently every 4 weeks. But stuff gets a lot of moving.
We do okay.
Yeah. I mean, we got Mike. That was like the first thing. I was like, in my mind, I was like, we got to get somebody on here that knows their shit. And Mike has certainly like, come through for us with some amazing insight and stories and stuff.
Yeah, I like hearing about the different people you worked with, Mike. I'm jealous for sure because
I got lucky. I got very lucky.
I've spent a lot of time with Jerry Rieger, Mike Skyver.
Look at that.
Mike's more of a tinker, but I got a lot of my wisdom about machines and about history from Mike. And Tommy Painter taught me a little bit of stuff before he passed. But I didn't really have a lot of people like you did. The names.
Yeah, but
you talk about
Jerry was a very, very, very strong mechanic, and he learned a lot from a lot of people. I mean, like Jerry was very close with Jack, who taught me. Yeah. Like it's funny. I actually got a machine through Aaron that used to belong to Jerry, and it was set. Did he ever show you the Greg May setup?
No.
Like the front spring setup. Like this, so I can get it in the screen. Can you see it?
Wow, look at that. Holy shit.
How it's got like that flat to here, then it's got that angle.
Oh, yeah. No.
Like a very short
I've seen them, yeah. They call it a Greg May setup.
Yeah. And you would put a rubber band underneath of it. Like I have one just kind of put in there because it's back here. Yeah. But you can slide it. If you put it all the way back, it'd be a little more give to it, and then you move it forward a little more rigid. But it's cool because when I got this, it's like Zeiss Deluxe. I sent a picture to the guy Jack who taught me, and he's like, I gave that to Jerry years ago. And then so it's kind of funny because it was one of Jack's machines that he got from Greg, then went to Jerry, then back to me. So it's kind of cool.
Right on.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of people, like Jerry taught a lot of people. He knew a lot. So
Yeah, he's
pretty
the one that
blessed in
took me
that.
onto the seminars. He used to bring me into his seminars because I'd done so many with him that he would let me talk. He just, I don't know, he was just such a kind man. He just took to me, and I
Yeah.
gravitated towards him. And but he was no shit. He would tell you flat out. I'd put a machine in his hand, and he would look at it, and he's like, "This is where you messed up. This is where you messed up. This is where you messed up. You need to change this. Think about this. Think about this." And he would just give it to me, and I would take that. He was definitely one of my greatest mentors and teachers.
Yeah, I have a very similar relationship with Tony. It's like
that's where I got that.
Almost the same thing. You know, like I think I was just telling this story like a little while ago on one of these that like, you know, I was getting into nickel plating and all that stuff and like copper plating and I like, you know, I was all proud. I like, nickel plated this frame myself, like bing, check it out. Like, you know, I was like breathing in cat piss for like, you know, for like hours trying to figure this shit out. So I hand it off to Tony and he gets it and he's just like, what the fuck, man? It's like coming off. And I was just like, oh.
Which I dig, by the way.
Yeah, I thought that was like the greatest shit ever. I was like, it was in the middle, I want to say it was like the Philly Tattoo Convention. I don't know what year it was, but I feel like
Richmond, probably.
Oh, it might have been Richmond. Yes, Richmond. And speaking of Richmond, like that is where I met Jerry Rieger. I was introduced to Jerry Rieger for the first time with you, and I remember I met Jerry Rieger because Jerry Rieger was a Mason, and I'm a Mason, and so we met on that level. You know, like he's like been a Mason a long time and I've been a Mason for like maybe a year or 2 years. So it was really, really a treat to meet someone who was a Freemason that was also a tattooer, especially somebody who was a Mason for so long and a tattooer for so long. So that was really cool. We hit it off right away speaking about that stuff. But tucked away in the back of his, you know, sitting down in his booth was this older gentleman. And I looked at him and he wasn't saying anything. He wasn't talking. I looked at him and I'm like, hey, is your name Scott? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, are you Scott Sterling? And he goes, yeah. And I guess that's when I don't know that anybody, I'm sure people knew who he was, but I was amazed that Scott Sterling was sitting there. I was like, holy shit. You know, and they were like, hey, kid, you think you can watch the booth so we can go get lunch? I was like, sure, I'll watch your booth. I'm a grown man. I have appointments and I don't care.
Right.
Privilege,
you know what I mean? Like appointments. Who am I kidding? This is Richmond. Like, you know, like nobody gave a shit about me, but I was happy to sit there and watch Jerry's booth while they went and got lunch. You know, I was like really, really hyped. That's how I met. That's the first time I met Jerry. And the first time I met Scott. I met Scott on other occasions too. But both great dudes. And
Jerry, the first time I met Jerry, he's like, hey man, or he always says, son, hey son, I got something for you. And he handed me this acetate from Doc King. And at the time I was like, oh, acetate, cool. And then like a year later it hit me what it was. I was like, oh, he just gave me this.
Wow. Oh, he had those Doc King books, right?
Yeah. Well, didn't he study under Doc King, from what I recall?
Well, yeah, I think he had. Didn't he have? I don't know if he put the books out. He definitely had frames that he modeled after like Doc King.
Yeah, Bill from Kingpin put those into production for him.
Yes. Yeah.
Doc King's.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. That's where he broke in. Yeah.
Yeah. Him and Bill were real tight.
Yeah. Shout out to Bill Smith.
Schmitty.
Best dude.
Hey guys, in the chat, we've got a lot of people saying thank you for doing these. We also want to say always one of the coolest conversations going, should be much more than once a month. Haha.
You could probably do that.
You got a babysitter? Want to come watch my kid?
You could probably do that.
Well, I mean, babysitter, maybe, you know, babysitter for kids, you know, everybody at the shop. You know, lot of stuff going on. I would love to do more. I mean, trust me, it's you know.
Yeah, I have a
So we'll have-
4-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, mine's
So do
7.
I.
Mine's 7. She can make her cereal now.
Yeah, my 7-year-old's being very cooperative today.
I'm trying to get her to make me breakfast. Shit.
What types of stuff do you guys do with your kids to kind of show them into the industry and teach them what you know?
I make her trace Horiyoshi the Third Flash, like from the old book. What's this book? Shit. Is it this one? I make her trace this stuff. It's like-
That's hardcore.
yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
My kids, I don't force them to do anything. They're really not into it.
She doesn't give a shit about Horiyoshi 3. But I don't know. She just draws and stuff. I mean, I bought her an iPad because like I've not for nothing. Like I try to do I do every goddamn thing imaginable that you could hand make on a tattoo machine. But I'm sick of tracing paper. So I got an iPad and it saves a lot of time for me. And I got her one because I figured if she's 7 years old, and she's, she rips a drawing now, like, by the time she's 15, 16, she could put herself through college doing walk-ins for dad.
Right.
It makes sense, keep,
My kids go through ebbs and flows where they have interest in it or not, I mean, they're both young. My son's 13. Right now, he has no interest in tattooing whatsoever, but he used to be really into it. Like him and I put together a couple machines together, and he's met I remember one time I signed him out of school to go to the Philly convention. I'm like, don't tell anybody at school where you're going. And he told I go to pick him up in the office. He goes, I heard you're going to go. He's going to go to meet the best tattoo artist in the world. And he's talking about Tony Polito, and the principal said like Tony Polito or something like that. I was like, yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
But,
amazing.
I thought his
awesome.
dad was the best tattoo artist in the world.
He's right though. Like my younger guy, like he's tattooed me a couple times and he wants to tattoo me again. He talks about his tattoos he wants, but then he'll not talk about it for months. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's just, they're kids. They're not, I'm not going to push them. I'm not going to like.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, like I didn't want to do anything my dad was doing. Fuck all that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's
I don't want. If they come to it, I want them to come to it with their desire, not because I'm making them. I don't want it to be oh, dad's punishing me, but I have to go to the tattoo shop.
Yeah, of course. You don't want to like impose all your corny bullshit on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like she's into I we sit in bed and when I put my kid to bed, I'll she's into like Sham 69, like old like punk rock stuff.
Wow.
So and she's not punk rock, like she's not getting a fucking mohawk or anything or like or anything like that, but I try to like give her listen to the Dead Boys or listen to Stiff Little Fingers or something like old punk rock stuff, and I'm like, here, check it out because it's good. You know what I mean? Like you can listen to all this other bullshit in mommy's car, but in daddy's car we're listening to Dead Kennedys.
Yeah.
That's right. We got death metal and
and they don't understand. She doesn't understand the lyrical content or anything, but I just want her to kind of understand. There's there's other good music out there. Like try this out. And she's like, she sings along like questions and answers and Hurry Up Harry and but that's the extent of like me trying to like push my bullshit on her.
Your classic rock.
She's got like, oh god, dude, like we listen to Steely Dan nonstop.
Classic rock.
Punk
hardcore now because we're older. It's classic rock to me.
Yeah, it is classic. Yeah. I mean,
I want to expose them to stuff, but I don't want to like make them. I don't want mini me's. I want them. You know?
Yeah. Agreed. So that's the way to do it. It's nice that we all touched on like parenting and stuff because I think it's like at this point in all of our lives, it's like
that's the
most important thing. And like all the other things like take a bit of a back seat. Building tattoo machines, tattooing. Painting, collecting. I'm not much of a collector, but I know you guys are probably more into collecting stuff than I am. I have some stuff that like maybe people have given me, but I wouldn't say that I go out of my way to collect things. I think like for speaking personally, like for me to be a collector, like I will lose my fucking mind. So like that's why I purposely don't collect tattoo machines or tattoo memorabilia. But I will tell you this, our buddy JD Crow, is on tour of South Jersey right now. So if I
I
don't
ran
know,
into him yesterday. He came
ran
by
into him
yesterday.
Okay. So I was not at work yesterday, and
Oh,
and I missed. This is the second time I missed him. I got him once. This is the second time I missed him. But
Were you guys open?
Yeah, we were open. Yeah, my friend, my good friend Tina, and my friend Jen, who work at the shop,
Mm-hmm.
best chicks on the planet. Tina called me up and said, you know, JD Crow is here. Did you want to buy anything? And I was like, put him on the phone. So I like, you can tell like he doesn't want to be on the phone. Like,
no.
but he knows me, and like, you know, like we know each other. We met, I think, at the Prestige, that Eric Perfect's convention. We met there, and he was super cool. And so I told him, like, you know, do you have Venmo or anything? You know, can I, like, you know, just you know, PayPal you some money? He's like, I have 3 new books. They're all $50 a piece. I was like, perfect. I'll send you $150. Just drop them off. Make sure you sign them. And then he was so kind to give us an original sheet.
You got the Marty Holcomb.
Oh, you got the Marty Holcomb book.
Isn't that cool? I thought that was like, I you know, they told me that he had given this to us, and I couldn't believe it. And I came in, and this was sitting in my station.
You know the
That's
story
nice.
behind those?
No, tell me.
Okay, so I guess JD acquired a stack of drawings from Marty, just
Okay.
like through the years. Just like, I guess Marty would bust these sheets out, so he finally got around to putting a book together. And there's a limited edition book, and for each book of the page, if you could pick the flash that goes with that book. So if you bought number 69, you could have page 69, the original.
Okay.
Now I got one of those, and I contacted Marty, and you could actually send that page to Marty and he'll paint it for you.
No shit.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
I never did it. I mean, I kind of lost track, you know.
I just thought it was like, you know, like getting back to collecting stuff. It's like I don't collect things, but
That's something, I mean, in this business, that's something you want to have for sure.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
it's amazing that like this is like sitting, you know, in my station, you know,
Yeah.
and I wasn't even here. You know, like I thought that was really, really cool. If anything, I collect books, which is bad enough, you know, but I mean, we're talking about books from, you know, when I started tattooing,
Yeah.
you know, and maybe some books into the distant past from then, but like nothing like crazy. But like tattoo books have like really exploded over the past, like, you
Yeah,
know,
used to
20
would-
years. And there's some stuff that came out that was like, you know, only 10 years ago it was $50, and now it's like $450.
It's
Yeah, some
insane.
of that
It's
Hardy
great. Yeah.
stuff.
You know, a lot of the Hardy stuff that came out, that Ben Corday book I bought for $50, and I looked at it twice. I was like, yeah, this is cool. And then I see it on like eBay or something, $450. I'm like, hey,
Mhm.
Yeah.
what the hell's going on here? So I guess like if I was to collect anything, it would probably be books. Like if Greg Christian or like Raph put anything out, instantly I buy it. Chad,
Mhm.
buy it. You know, I bought one of I definitely bought one of Mike's books, the Coleman. You want to talk about your the acetate stencil book that you put out?
Oh,
The
yeah.
acetate book or the Coleman book?
Wait, which one do I have? It's like I have a stencil book. I think it was of Coleman stencils, right?
Well, the stencil book it's basically like my collection of stencils.
Oh, okay. It's not straight up
it's-
just Coleman stuff.
There's a few Colemans in there, but it was like Eddie Peace, Sale Ready. It's some of my son's collection, because Sale Ready gave my son a bunch of stencils. But I had like it's just like a book of just like, you know, my collection of stencils. Which when we did the book, every copy that we did, until I ran out of them, I just gave everybody a stencil or two. You know.
That's cool.
Well, that's not the one. That's
Yeah. Do you have a picture of it by chance that we could share?
I do not.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
They're out of print. I mean, everything we were out of print on. That's the one.
Yeah. This is it right here. Yeah.
Yeah, that one is the one that you're showing is the one that Alex Cass put out. It's all stencils from the Pike.
Oh,
which is
okay, cool.
a good score if you're looking for that. Alex Cass still has those. They're really good. There's a few
Okay.
of them.
So I guess the way I remember it, I just remember reading Coleman, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's like Coleman, right? You know. So that's what I.
But then like Gordon and I had done the a book of all my Coleman collection.
Okay.
Did you get that book as well?
I don't know. I know I bought this from you at that Prestige convention, and I
Mhm.
remember being kind of drunk, and I remember you had I mean, like, as anybody gets drunk, they kind of act like an asshole. I feel like I was acting like I don't know if I was acting like an asshole, but you definitely feel more like an asshole than usual. So I remember kind of drinking a little bit, and I was like, "Hey, man, I know you're a guy down at Black Panther. Would you care if I came up and did a guest spot?" Or I remember like inviting myself to a guest spot or something. You're like, "Yeah, whatever," and I like walked away from that like I feel like such a dumb asshole. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like come on, dude. Like, you don't like invite yourself. Fucking asshole.
You have to open up the conversation somehow.
Yeah. But I think we were friendly before that. I had gotten tattooed. I got tattooed by you at the Asbury Park convention. I think it was the second one.
Okay.
And that's when I think that's the first time I met you. And you did a Bob Wicks little skull on me. But that was pretty cool, a little skull and crossbones. And I think it was like $60 or something.
How old were you?
Probably.
Greg?
How old was I?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Shit. I don't know. I don't remember the year.
15.
I don't know. It had to be like maybe 9 or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It was the second one, so I don't know. The first one was a little weird. I did the first one. I don't remember seeing you there. I remember meeting Robert at that show.
Okay.
The first one.
Yeah, it was definitely there, but right? No, the first one we didn't do.
Well, I remember seeing you, Robert.
I don't think he might have been there. He might have stopped by. I don't think he was tattooing.
I think he had books or something for sale. He had a book of his work for sale or something like that. And I kind of flipped through it, but I don't.
For the first year we didn't do it because there's like some conflict. But I think the second year we did it.
Okay.
And then from that point forward, we did it. There's a couple years we couldn't do it. But yeah, it's a shame. I don't know if they're going to be doing that show anymore. You know,
it was a very weird show.
So.
It was like real weird. You know, the first one, and like I'd never really the only time before that I had been to Asbury Park. I mean, this is the day of like Casino Skate Park, and so I would go. You know, we would obviously go to that park because it was fucking amazing. And then I think like I went to see the Super Bowl of Hardcore there, like Agnostic Front reunion, like maybe like their first reunion, whatever it was. And
no, I think I saw their first reunion.
Oh,
like '86.
Okay, all right. Well, it was like.
Well, yeah, they always would come and go.
I'm pretty sure it was 95 or 96, possibly 97. But I remember like Asbury Park being a total shithole. Like it was fucking scary. And I'm from Atlantic City, and that's a shithole enough. And like it was scary. And then to come back to that show, like to come to the Asbury Park convention, whatever it was called, I don't know. And walking around and all the restaurants, the boardwalk was beautiful. Like everybody was like having a great time. There was no like urban blight to, you know, like they really cleaned that town up. And it was, and like every restaurant you went to, no matter if it was just like a, you know, a hot dog, you know, cart or whatever, it was like the best food. Like, so I think you're super fortunate to have a tattoo shop in a town that's like, you know, that has been up and coming for so long. It's like, you almost forget about how crappy it was before, but it was a really, really good experience. And then I don't know what happened. I never got back up there to do that convention again. I would come up and visit, but, you know, and come say hi to friends that did it, but I never got to do that convention again. It was a good convention. I fucking made a lot of money. It was great.
Yeah. It was a fun convention.
I made a lot of friends from that convention too. You know, it was really crazy. But Asbury Park is like beautiful now. It's amazing.
Yeah.
We went to that I think a couple years ago when my kid was like she was walking, but she was like in a stroller. We had to park in the next town over. There's nowhere to park. It's like we had to park. Well, I don't even know what the next town north is, but whatever it is, we had to park there to go to the convention.
Oh, you went north.
And I remember I remember stopping by your shop very briefly, and you were super busy, and I was like, oh dude, like homie looks stressed out. Let me go. Like, it was like real quick.
Oh,
Like, I
right.
was like, all right, dude, good to see you later. Like
Mhm.
I'm in there like with,
Yeah.
I had my kid in a tattoo shop and all stuff. So it's like, but there was like some street
Yeah,
festival.
we get pretty crazy busy.
Yeah, it's like it's such a crazy town. And like I remember driving by Electric, and there was like, I guess it was before you guys opened, we were looking for parking, and there was just a
Mhm.
line just waiting to get in. Like,
Yeah.
it's like it's so cool to see that out in front of a tattoo shop. I've never seen it out in front of any other tattoo shop but yours. And that's a testament to like the work you do, the work that everybody you work with does, and your
Yeah.
reputation. I think it's
You
amazing.
got blessed with a good crew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good partnership,
Yeah, it's cool. The shop is cool too. If you ever get a chance, if anybody ever gets a chance to go, you should go check it out. There's like hand painted, hand drawn flash everywhere. It's amazing. Like, yeah, all kinds of good stuff. Lots of treats if you look.
Yeah, if you know what you're looking for, you're gonna see some cool shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you don't know what you're looking for, there's like, from our own original stuff to some classic stuff on the walls. It's all pretty. I'd say like 97% of the shop is hand painted.
Yeah.
Original stuff.
It's
And little by little, we're keep changing it and getting as original as we can.
Yeah, it's cool to see that. Like, it's not something you really see anymore.
No.
I mean, you don't even see flash on. I mean, whether it's flash that somebody bought, but it's like everything looks like a fucking nail salon now. It's refreshing to see tattoo shops that look like tattoo shops.
Yeah, Corey Clubs does that. His whole shop is all his flash that he's hand painted.
Yeah,
it's awesome. In Ohio. That dude's sick, man.
Smith Street is like that too. I mean, Smith, as far as I know, I mean, I haven't been to Smith Street in over 10 years, but like when I was up there, that's exactly what it was. It was just, even the bathroom was like covered in flash.
That they painted. It's good to see a lot of younger kids are carrying the tradition on in that regards.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, like
cool.
I haven't painted in a year because it's been so busy tattooing and building machines and stuff. But you got to give it to somebody that can work a full day tattooing and then go home and paint and then sleep and then paint and then tattoo and then paint. That's the only way I can even consider getting it done.
Yeah, kid that works for me is like that. Dan Heck, Napalm Lungs.
Oh yeah.
When he first started to work with me, that's all he did was page after page. Like he'd have 3 or 4 pages. He's just like, I gotta paint.
Yeah.
On a tattoo, he would just paint. And then he just kind of transitioned over. And dude has stacks. It's crazy.
Oh yeah. I mean, I have like 30 sheets, but it took me like years to get 30 sheets,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Years and years.
I have like 10 and it's been 30 years.
Hey man, it's quality, it's not quantity.
Yeah. You were talking about the iPad too. See, I shy away. There's just something about the way pencil feels on paper that I'm more fluent than I am dragging a piece of plastic on glass. I just don't know what it is. But yeah, I use it for things. But when it comes to just like custom creation, you were talking about this before, Mike, with the iPad and the paper when we were talking about our kids. There's just something about paper.
Yeah, no doubt. But I'll tell you this: if like
all right to it,
like if you got to do like 10 walk-ins, in a day, it's like instrumental. Like you can't. Like I don't know how. And like there's no flash on the wall.
Yeah, I don't.
It's not like you can pick like JD Crow number of this sheet and then go to the filing cabinet, make a copy of it, and stick it on somebody. People have stuff on the phone. They airdrop it to the stupid iPad. You trace it, tattoo it. You tracing dreams, man. It's like
drop it.
To me, if you're it helps in so many ways. And this is like, and like I said, like, if there's a way that I could make, tattoo machines any more handmade than I do, then I will try to do it. But for some stuff, like it just, it's so efficient to just, take a picture of it, trace it, and it's done. We just like Mike, we're like I'm 7 miles from Atlantic City. So we get a lot of like Shuby traffic and, tourists and stuff like that. And like, they want to get tattooed now so they can sunburn the shit out of it on the beach, So to me, like the iPad works. And like, I'm no like, and trust me, like, I was dead set on I thought I was going to die under an avalanche of tracing paper. You know, like I thought that was going to be, you know, that's how it was going to be. But this thing works. I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah, man.
Hey,
Some people
Tony,
like
when you mentioned Dan, I'm not sure if you noticed that 2 days ago, I saw an article about a fire that kind of destroyed a lot of stuff by his shop in Long Island.
Dan Heck?
Dan Henk. Yeah, over in, I'm not sure if we're talking about the same guy, but over.
Hecht, Heck.
Oh, okay. I was thinking Dan Henk.
But no, damn.
Yeah, over
I
in
didn't hear
New
about
York.
that either. No, that's, I'm
Fucking-
sorry to hear that, Dan.
fucking
If there's
terrible.
anything I could do for you,
Yeah,
man,
it's the worst.
hit me
Yeah.
up.
That's
Been through
hard.
some tragic times with stuff.
I hung out with that dude at that. That's funny because at the first Asbury convention that I did, I worked that convention with my friend Scott Treratola, and he's from Long Island, and he's an amazing black and gray artist.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. Yeah.
He is fucking super cool, and he was friends with Dan, and like I went out to like dinner with all those fools, like
Yeah.
all these like, you know, like I don't know who the hell. There was no traditional dudes. It was all like, you know what I mean? It was like all like crazy, you know, illustrations and black and gray dudes, and like it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lost a bunch of art and a lot of stuff. So that's sending our good wishes to them.
Yeah, I'll have to dig around and see if I can get his contact, and I got some stuff if he needs some stuff. I got 35 years worth of shit. Call me. I'll load it up, dude. We got too much stuff. Yeah, that is a tragedy. I feel bad. Oh, we froze.
Yeah. Something
Right.
happened with Greg over here.
Look at that smiley Greg. How cute you look. Oh no.
He's frozen.
All right.
So for you guys, what is your next stop that you will make? I know that I went to a convention in Chicago last weekend. It seems like things are normal in the US enough.
Yeah, I don't know if I call it normal. Everyone's sketched out about this new Delta variant and then
Yeah.
another variant.
Yeah.
People are ignoring it. My next stop, there's a Pittsburgh show coming up. There's a DC show coming up. I do Richmond every year. Obviously, I'm doing the show with you guys and Gabe. I'm trying to slim down my travels this year, spend more time with my family. It's one thing that COVID taught me, being like, because I ran 24/7 for years, building machines, tattooing, being a part of the business, just submerged myself in the aspect of tattoo. I just lived it 24/7. And Greg just texted, sorry. And I just learned at COVID, like now it's time to just slow down a little bit and chill with my family.
I cut a day down on my shift.
I like it. You know, I got back to living a little bit and enjoying life. That rat race, like when you're younger, it's cool and the rush is there and it's fun and you're learning. Not to say that I don't still learn, I still don't get a rush, but it's just life is different now. So I'm slowing it down a little bit. I'm picking and choosing which shows I want to go to and what kind of energy I want to put out there. So yeah, that being said, those are the shows I most likely will be doing because I've been doing those forever, the staple shows. And then we're doing the Rubber City show, which has been postponed 2 years because of COVID. We'll be doing that in July of August of next year. And that'll probably be it for now. How about you, Mike?
Yeah, I'm a homebody. I don't really do much traveling. Like I said, September, I'm going to go down to Virginia and, you know, if something else comes up, you know, I'm going to probably try to go upstate and visit some friends up there and stuff like that. But as far as shows, I don't really have anything on the radar right now.
Right.
You're saying I'm pretty much like between us being closed down for a little bit and just kind of snowballed into being booked out a little bit more than I normally am. And now we're taking walk-ins again. So it's really busy with that. And, but I'm still trying to do all that and not work every day. You know what I mean? Like trying to keep a little free time,
right.
you know?
I try not to work every day, but
Yeah. You know, that's, I mean, like we're pretty blessed in the sense that like we work, but we're not working. Like we're enjoy, you know, and I know I enjoy what I do and you know, but I just try to be, it used to be I was off. I had a day off. I'd go to a tattoo shop, and now I'm trying to I like to be able to do that every week and go visit a friend or go, brainstorm. Like we're actually trying to work out a thing where me and a few friends are going to get together and exchange machine ideas, like have a little mini, everybody, share thoughts and set up machines together, and I'm pretty excited for that because it's, some people I really look up to that want to do it, but it's just trying to find a day that we can all get together,
Right. That's understandable.
and, it's, and then sometimes I like Sundays or family days specifically,
Right.
and then during the week, it's, I'm home with my kids on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and hopefully I have, now that I got some frames I can start working on, I can do that here and still be around them and do stuff with, work on machines for a couple hours and go to the park, and go swimming or whatever, and just try to enjoy as much. But I as far as traveling, I want to do it, but I feel I kind of feel alien at conventions sometimes.
Yeah.
I'd rather go to somebody's shop and I remember realizing that I think it was a Rochester convention, the first Rock City convention or whatever it was, and just being like nobody knew the town, nobody was, everybody's set up in a convention, you're not in your own ways, and just being like, it'd be cooler to go to somebody's shop who knows the city or knows the town. You're watching them work in their natural surroundings and I'm going to set my station up like that because it makes sense to do that, and you feel like you learn more from somebody that way,
Right. Yeah, you get to see inside their lives too.
Yeah. And it's you feel like to me, that's what I want to try to do, a little more guest spot type stuff,
More personal.
And, yeah. And it's a little bit, and I'm some sort of a social anxiety, I guess you'd say. Smaller groups work better for me than a big group,
Right.
And plus it's you go to a tattoo convention, it's like a kid in a candy store. It's a huge candy store sometimes, especially at the Philly show, where it's a complete sensory overload for the whole first day. Then I can kind of start focusing on stuff, so that's why I feel like I pick up. I do better when it's a smaller situation.
You ever work that show?
I have. Yeah.
You have to go to the bathroom the day before you go to your booth.
I remember Milan convention was like that. I remember I did that one year, and it was you had to make sure you didn't drink anything because you had, trying to go to the bathroom would take you an hour.
An hour.
Jeez.
Shuffling for
and you need, especially for the Philly show anymore, you almost need to have a navigation system in your phone, just to kind of get you back to your booth. Geez, it's so big.
It is amazing. Yeah. I did that show. I can't even tell you, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And it was absolutely insane. It was in the hotel at that time. And there was a Harley show downstairs and then the convention upstairs. And Friday morning I set up, it was cool. By Friday afternoon, I was like, what the fuck is happening? You couldn't get out of your booth to make a stencil. And if you did, you were gone for a half hour, 45 minutes back and forth. Crazy. But that was a great show. I always did really well at Philly.
Philly was always, even as big as the convention is now, it's too much for me.
Yeah.
But it's still a great show, as big as it is.
It's too much for me now. Now that I'm older and I'm a little more relaxed. Yeah, those bigger shows, I stay with the smaller shows. Like the old school shows in the early 90s, there were hotel shows, small. 100 booths was a lot.
Exactly. That's when Greg was talking about the one in Asbury Park. I think 50 booths was the most it ever had. So it's kind of had that same kind of vibe. And I like doing the Saratoga convention that the people at Spalding host. Again, real small, not overly busy, but busy enough. Gives you some time to hang out and you still tattoo.
I have Greg on the phone. You are on speaker. Can you guys hear him? Say hello.
A little bit.
So I go outside and some fucking Comcast dudes in the back cutting off my neighbor's cable. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, oh, I was like, it's like a splitter. You guys, they shouldn't have you on a splitter, between two businesses. I'm like, I'm doing a fucking podcast, man. like broadcasting to the whole goddamn world. You're out back fucking with my internet. Oh my god.
Oh, this is amazing. All right, great. We're gonna finish up anyhow, brothers. Anything you want to say before we finish up here?
Just
Don't fuck with Comcast.
goddamn Comcast. Hold on a second. You guys need help with one? Oh, there you go.
Hey, you're in a
people are starting to
podcast,
show up
dude.
at the shop. I just want to say, huge shout out to Mike for letting us listen to his history of building tattoo machines and who he built with, and it's
Well, thank you for asking me.
amazing to have like somebody like you in this tattoo world, and for Tony, the mega homie, like always been there for me when I needed him and stuff like that, as far as tattoo machine building and stuff like that. And I hope we get to do more of these. If somebody wants to see more of them, then maybe we should try to do more. I mean, what does everybody else think?
I'm down always. You know that. Always.
Since I'm not involved, I'll say, yeah, do more.
You can be involved. That's fine.
Anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah. Good
Hey,
luck
how
with
do
your
we-
cable.
How do people get in touch with you, Greg?
What's that?
How do people get in touch with you?
Well, if you want to get tattooed or you want to buy a machine, I'm on Instagram. It's at Veritas MFG. That's MFG. It stands for manufacturing. So, hit me up on there. Stop by Mr. Blue Sky Tattoo in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. We're right outside of Atlantic City. Fun times there too. So, it's about it. I mean, it's pretty much it. I don't know what else to say. I'm kind of pissed off about this whole cable thing.
Hey, we got you on phone, man. This is classic. I dig it.
Yeah, dude, I was
We
By
got
any means
you.
necessary.
It'd be even better if I FaceTime you and just hold you on my screen the entire time like I'm doing.
I could. I mean, I didn't even think far enough to try to get a Zoom meeting going on my phone.
Yeah. That would have been a nice workaround.
Call you like some dude and say, put me on speakerphone.
No, that's fine. All right, my brother, you take care, and I will talk to you soon.
All right, man.
Good luck with everything, Greg.
I'll see you soon.
All right,
Thanks
brother.
again.
Later. Bye.
All right, cool. That was Greg. Comcast snipped his line. We work around.
Yeah.
So, all right, Mike, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. So good to meet you through this.
It's good to meet you too. We'll have to get together in person if I ever get
Yeah,
over
for
that
sure.
way. It's tough with kids and whatnot, but I'll be getting around eventually here.
Same here.
I appreciate what you do. I appreciate the time you put into this industry.
Well,
the
thanks.
information
Likewise.
you give back. It's an honor to have met you and talk to you. I admire guys who worked under masters, and I try and learn from them. How can people get in touch with you for tattooing, for machines, etc.?
Well, I work, like Greg was saying, I have Electric Tattoo in Asbury Park, and that's Electric Tattoo NJ on Instagram. And it's Mike Swaggart on Gmail. I'm sorry, Mike Swaggart at gmail.com is my email, and then Mike Swaggart on Instagram. So,
Yeah, so if you Google Mike Schwager, it'll all come up.
yeah, I'm sure it's easy to spell.
Yeah, I found you.
Yeah.
It'll come up. There's not too many Mike Schwager's a tattoo.
Nope.
Okay. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. I'd like to thank Guy, Lauren, Gabe, Greg, and Mike for being our guests. I'm Tony Urbanek. I am at Tony Urbanek. I am at T Urbanek Machines. If you need to get in touch with me, I guess people like this podcast, so we could do it again. Reflections, weird. We could do it again. I'll see. I'll put together a schedule for next month. Everybody have a great day, and thanks once again for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace,
Bye.
Mike.
Thank you,
You
Mike.
too.
Thank you, Tony.
Bye.